Picture a group of wealthy foreign businessmen, dazzled by the marble brilliance of the Taj Mahal, standing at its gates. In sweeps Natwarlal, dressed impeccably, armed with forged documents and a silver tongue. He introduces himself as a government official and that he has exclusive rights to the monument. He spins a tale of private investment, promises astronomical returns, and, believe it or not, sells the Taj Mahal right from under the noses of its guards. Not once, but 3 times. He even throws in Parliament House, the Red Fort, and the Rashtrapati Bhavan for good measure. If you're ready to uncover more secrets behind the world's most fascinating cons, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. That way, you'll never miss the next twist in the world of cons, and you'll always be one step ahead of the game. India, mid-20th century, the country is buzzing with change. New money, new dreams, and a hunger for opportunity. In this whirlwind, a man emerges from the shadows, with a glint in his eye and a suitcase full of secrets. His real name is Mithilesh Kumar Srivastava. But to the world, he's Natwarlal, the man who could sell you anything, even the Taj Mahal. Born in 1912 in the small village of Bangra in Bihar, India, Natwarlal grew up in a world where poverty was a constant companion and opportunity was scarce. His father was a station master, and young Mithilesh was a gifted student, especially with numbers. But the inequities that he saw around him, wealthy landlords exploiting the poor, corrupt officials lining their pockets, left an undeniable mark. After being cheated by a moneylender, he realized the power of forgery and deception. Armed with a sharp intellect and a talent for mimicry, Natwarlal set out to turn the tables on the powerful, using their own greed against them. His legendary exploits, selling the Taj Mahal, the Red Fort, and more, were as much about outsmarting the system as they were about personal gain. Natwarlal's genius isn't just in the sale, it's in the setup. With a degree in commerce, a sharp mind for banking, and a knack for forgery, he crafts fake deeds, stamps, and signatures so perfect, even the experts are fooled. He studies his targets, learns their weaknesses, and tailors his pitch to their greed and ambition. Sometimes he's a government official, sometimes a business manager, sometimes a desperate social worker. He uses more than 50 aliases, slipping in and out of roles like a seasoned actor. His scams are legendary, swindling Punjab National Bank out of hundreds of thousands with a rice freight scam, forging signatures of India's biggest industrialists, and even duping the wealthy Tatas and Birlas out of huge sums. He pays his victims with fake checks and demand drafts, always one step ahead of suspicion. But Natwarlal isn't just a con man, he's an escape artist. Arrested at least 9 times, sentenced to over 100 years in prison. Yet he spends barely 20 behind bars. His escapes are the stuff of legend, bribing guards with a suitcase full of newspaper or donning a police uniform. Each time he leaves the law and the world stunned. And here's the twist. In his native village, Natwarlal is a folk hero. He hosts feasts, hands out cash to the poor, and disappears before the authorities catch up to him. To the villagers, he's a modern-day Robin Hood. To the police, he's a ghost. The legend only grows. With more than 100 cases across 8 states, Natwarlal becomes a myth, a name whispered in awe and disbelief. His last known escape is in 1996, at the age of 84, vanishing from a train station in a wheelchair, never to be seen again. Some say he died in 1996. Others claim he lived until 2009. The truth, like everything about Natwarlal, is impossible to pin down. What's the lesson? Natwarlal's story is a masterclass in exploiting greed, trust, and the cracks in the system. He proved that with enough charm, a forged document, and a bold story, you can sell the impossible and vanish into legend. That's the tale of Natwarlal, the man who sold the Taj Mahal, outwitted the law, and turned the art of the con into a legend that India will never forget. Natwarlal vanishes into myth, leaving behind a trail of duped millionaires and sold monuments. But what made his scam so irresistible? And how did he stay one step ahead for decades? Let's analyze the blend of wit, forgery, and social engineering that turned Natwarlal into India's most notorious trickster. Natwarlal's legendary success began with an unflinching acceptance of human nature's deepest vulnerabilities. As Maria Konnikova writes in The Confidence Game, we are all vulnerable to being conned because we all have the capacity for belief. The con artist simply gives us what we want: hope, meaning, a sense of belonging, or superiority. Natwarlal understood that beneath the surface of respectability, even the most powerful are driven by greed, vanity, and the hunger for secret advantage. He didn't judge these impulses, he weaponized them, reading people's ambitions and tailoring his cons to their deepest desires. By offering the promise of something exclusive or extraordinary, he made his marks complicit in their own deception. Natwarlal's charisma, confidence, and articulate manner made him appear trustworthy and authoritative. Whether posing as a government official, business executive, or influential insider, he leveraged the halo effect, the tendency to assume legitimacy based on presentation and status. His mastery of impersonation and forgery, combined with meticulous planning, allowed him to convincingly adopt multiple identities and produce official-looking documents, further disarming suspicion. Rather than presenting his scams as obvious cons, Natwarlal masked his intent behind elaborate stories, forged paperwork, and staged introductions. He let his marks believe they were being offered a privileged, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, an exclusive deal that only insiders could access. By allowing his targets to discover the opportunity, he bypassed their natural resistance and made the scam feel like their own clever find. Masking intent is essential for any successful con. If a con artist's true motives are obvious, people's natural defenses go up. They become skeptical, cautious, and resistant. But when the con artist presents the command or desire in a subtle, indirect way, it slips right past those defenses. The target either accepts the suggestion unconsciously or willingly, believing it was their own idea or simply the natural course of events. This is what makes the con so powerful. It doesn't feel like a manipulation at all. The sheer audacity of selling the Taj Mahal, Parliament House, or the Howrah Bridge was so outlandish that it instantly captured attention. This is classic incongruity. Things that are out of place, that don't make sense in a given context, or that confuse us will invariably grab our attention, and if exploited properly, will maintain it as well. Once attention was seized by such a bold claim, skepticism was suspended, especially when Natwarlal backed it up with convincing paperwork and a compelling story. Natwarlal's genius wasn't just in forging documents or spinning tales. It was in diagnosing and exploiting the psychological addictions that make people easy marks. The first was hope and greed. Natwarlal dangled the prospect of impossible riches, owning a monument, winning a secret deal, triggering not just greed, but the hope that this time fortune would favor them. The dream of sudden wealth blinded victims to obvious red flags. The next was secret knowledge. Every con was presented as an exclusive opportunity, available only to a select few. Victims felt special, chosen, as if they'd been let in on a secret reserved only for insiders. This sense of exclusivity made them less likely to question the deal and more likely to defend it. Then there's the need to be right. Once they bought in, victims became emotionally invested in the fantasy. Admitting doubt would mean admitting that they'd been fooled. Their egos compelled them to rationalize away inconsistencies, clinging to the belief that they were outsmarting the system. Then there's the need for power and status. The fantasy of owning a national landmark wasn't just about money. It was about prestige, influence, and the thrill of holding something untouchable. Natwarlal's marks weren't just buying property. They were buying a sense of power over the world. These cravings didn't just override judgment. They amplified each other. The more exclusive the opportunity seemed, the more powerful and right the victim felt, and the more hope and greed clouded their skepticism. In the end, Natwarlal didn't just sell monuments. He sold a dream tailored to the deepest psychological needs of the mark. Every great con is a mirror, reflecting not only the trickster's ingenuity, but the hidden vulnerabilities we all carry, whether we're chasing wealth, status, or the seductive promise of being in on the secret. Natwarlal's cons followed the classic confidence game formula. The approach: he targeted ambitious, often greedy, individuals, businessmen, bankers, and foreigners who wouldn't report being conned for fear of embarrassment or exposure. The build-up: he used forged documents, fake officials, and staged meetings to create credibility and reinforce authority. The convincer: he provided convincing paperwork, sometimes arranging official tours or demonstrations. The hoorah: he created urgency, act now, or this opportunity disappears forever. The blow-off: after the deal, Natwarlal vanished, leaving the victim too embarrassed or complicit to go public. For the victims, the sting wasn't just financial. It was the shame of being outwitted and the fear of exposure. That's what kept them silent. Many victims rationalized their losses, blaming circumstances or bad luck, rather than admitting that they had been fooled. Their own greed and desire for secrecy made them very unlikely to report the crime, protecting Natwarlal and fueling his legend. People sometimes believe what they are told, but they never doubt what they conclude. By making each mark believe they were in on a secret, Natwarlal turned even the sharpest minds into willing accomplices and disappeared into legend, always one step ahead. Natwarlal's victims weren't simply greedy or naive. They were expertly maneuvered into a psychological trap. Here's how he made even the shrewdest marks lower their guard. Natwarlal created an illusion of legitimacy. He cloaked his scams in the trappings of authority, official seals, government forms, and confident personas. This halo effect short-circuited critical thinking. People trust what looks official, especially when it comes with the right paperwork and a convincing story. He also used emotional engineering. He didn't just sell a deal, he sold a dream. By promising access to exclusive opportunities, he flattered his victims' egos and their ambitions. The rush of feeling chosen or in on a secret made skepticism feel like self-betrayal. Many victims feared embarrassment or legal consequences if the deal was exposed. This kept them silent, isolated, and less likely to seek outside advice. A classic tactic that turns private doubt into public compliance. Natwarlal's scams often move fast and involve complex details, overwhelming his targets with information. Under pressure, people default to trust and habit, especially when a con artist appears calm and in control. Then there's the self-deception. Once invested, victims double down, rationalizing away warning signs, rather than admitting that they've been conned. The need to be right and to avoid shame kept them committed long after logic should have intervened. In the end, Natwarlal's true skill was not just in forging documents, but in forging belief, turning ordinary ambition and trust into the very tools of his deception. Natwarlal's myth endures because he mastered the art of exploiting human psychology, masking intent, capturing attention with audacious incongruity, and feeding hidden addictions like hope and the need for power. By making each mark believe they were in on a secret, he turned even the sharpest minds into willing accomplices, vanishing into legend, always one step ahead of the law. But what if the con artist didn't just sell a dream? He lived it, posing as a Saudi prince and fooling the world's elite. Next time, we unravel the outrageous exploits of Anthony Gignac, the master impersonator who dined in luxury, drove exotic cars, and convinced billionaires and celebrities that he was royalty. How did Gignac turn fake titles and forged passports into a life of unimaginable wealth? And how did this fantasy finally come crashing down? Don't miss this jaw-dropping tale of deception, ambition, and the high price of living a lie. Subscribe now and hit the bell so you never miss the next unbelievable twist in the world's greatest cons.